Bonjour à tous et bienvenue à la morning session Palo Alto Cortex Update de ce matin. C'est un plaisir de vous revoir online. Vous n'êtes pas encore tous là, mais on va quand même commencer parce que le programme est assez intense. Avec moi, il y a Laurent Gross, qui est le SC Palo Alto. Il va lui-même se présenter. Et naturellement, mon collègue Rolf Bamert, le Product Manager de Palo Alto en Suisse. Une petite vue sur l'agenda. Donc, on aura environ une petite heure d'update sur le Cortex XDR, quelques highlights sur la nouvelle release et absolument avec une démo. Et une petite information sur comment comprendre l'évaluation que vous voyez, vous pouvez voir sur Mitre ATT&CK. Parfois, il y a des confusions avec ça et on cherchera de trouver avec vous, disons, la bonne solution. Et puis, il y aura quelques refresh à vous montrer. Sûrement très important, c'est pas, même si c'est vers la fin, la partner compliance, ce qui est nécessaire pour tous les partenaires pour rester ou atteindre leur niveau de partenariat. Et quelques promos, naturellement, Q&A pour tout le monde. Vous êtes tous en mute. La session sera enregistrée, donc vous allez recevoir le lien pour la revoir. Et si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas à les poser sur le chat et on cherchera de vous répondre aussitôt que possible, si on peut tout de suite, ou sinon vous recevrez de suite la réponse. Voilà, c'est tout de ma part. Je laisse maintenant le mot à Leonard.
So you should be able to see my screen now. Great. Thank you very much and welcome to our BOW session. My name is Leonard Gross. I'm a systems engineer for Palo Alto Networks since 3 years, based out of Amsterdam and covering the ALPS region. So today I want to introduce you guys to what are the new features in Cortex XDR, show you also a bit of the UI, what changed in the UI, and also we're looking into the Mitre ATT&CK framework. If you got any questions, just feel free to post them into the Q&A box. I will then make breaks to answer them with Rolf together. So at first, when we look into Cortex XDR, we had a lot of big things happening where we see, okay, we got our Cortex XDR suite where we say, okay, we cover everything that's regarding endpoint and also what's really important, the any data. So we cover and analyze a lot of things in there that are standard-wise from other solutions not supported. We also got our Cortex XSOR suite. So when we want to automate security operations processes, that we can do this with XSOR. And we got to get the outside view of a company. We got our attack surface management tool called Xpanse, and those things all integrate to each other. Also, what we offer in Cortex XDR or in our Cortex suite itself is breach incident response, forensic investigations, and security assessments. Those are services provided by our Unit 42. When we look into the development and of the lifecycle of XDR, we see this is a really, really high pace development that we got here. So I started in Q3 2019 at Palo Alto, and I can only say it's developed into a completely new product. In the original version, they had like 2 interfaces One was called Traps, the other one was already Cortex XDR, and they merged everything together. So this product has developed so far and so well that it became a big pillar for Palo Alto that was before that only known for firewalls, and now we're also developing and known for XDR, as we also created the term XDR in this sense. Usually you get 2 to 3, like 4 versions per year. All 2 to 3 months there comes a new version. In the last versions, the highlights would say, well, is a forensics module and the code storage. The forensics module comes from our Xpanse acquisition, which was a investigation and response team that had a few scripts, not just scripts, but tools where we integrated into our Cortex XDR. So in the Cortex XDR portal, they changed a few things. We got a completely new incident view, and everything moved to the to the left-hand side from the top. So when showing to you here, it used to be here. Now it's on this side, and also the incident view merged. Looks a bit different. When we look into the incident, we see we got here also the advanced view. We can switch to the old view, but also we got as a biggest highlight the Mitre ATT&CK framework, where we can map alerts to what is happening. We can map the alerts to the stages of the Mitre ATT&CK framework. Endpoint enhancement and management. So in here we got now endpoint tagging, endpoint content version status, agent uninstall token, import export policies. So to make the daily life easier, we got scope based access control for endpoints, and we can now directly in the Cortex console upload data for our support team. So when we look into the environment, the scope-based access control, we can really granularly say which users got which roles. You will find this under settings, access management roles. And then we can, if we create here, we can go directly and say, okay, this user should be allowed to do incident response, only allowed to view them, or also edit them. Then under all endpoints, we'll find all the additional features. Let's just, we got to select all. We can create tags now. And with tags, we can create rules and policies based on them. And just got a lot of things that I got highlighted here.
Leonard,
yeah.
Is it possible that you assume your browser session a little bit? So
yeah, perfect.
It's more readable then. Yeah, thank you. Perfect.
Thank you very much. So I know in a different environment I got somebody with some tags. So good thing is I got access to those. So let's filter here directly for the tags, and then we see this directly. So the important thing about the tags is also that we can give those tags. Here's the example. We can give those tags via command line with the installation, and we can create dynamic groups with this. If we go further and want, for example, okay, we got certain issues on a laptop. Somebody wants to uninstall something, the agent or disable the agent. We also got now here the feature of set temporary token. So we don't have to give out the administrator password, but also you can just give them a token. We can just say here set temporary token, set an expiration date, and then we get this, and the client can then disable Cortex XDR on his client. What other features came into Cortex? We now support Nutanix virtual machine solution, Windows 10 IoT Core, network isolation for Linux endpoints, user space agent for Linux. So we were running before only in the kernel space. This can be now chosen in the settings. So let me go into the policy management, the profiles, just to create new. We can say Linux. And then we got the operation mode in here. One thing also to make good configs more accessible. So you, for example, you already got a good configuration set and one customer, and we just want to copy those profiles. We can now say here import from file, but also we can also say export profile. So this makes it a lot easier if you already know, okay, I got a good configuration of this system, of this profile somewhere. I can import those just via a right click. New features in the Cortex 7.6 agent. So the other features were in the 7.7 agent. So we now support with 7.6, Windows 11, Windows Server 2022. We got a network packet inspection engine integrated. So you can imagine this like IDS, IPS directly on the client, where we use certain thread IDs. We also support now Microsoft Azure-based virtual desktops. We can also secure now Kubernetes hosts and support on Mac OS X's tampering protection and host firewall for Mac OS X 10. One thing that's also really cool is that we integrate now also with our asset inventory, and now also our asset inventory integrates also now with our cloud solutions, so with Prisma Cloud and also with Palo Alto Networks IoT security. What's a subscription for our firewall? And so we get more information about those environments. So when we look on the assets, we got the asset inventory, where we see, okay, what does our agent see in this area? We got our on-prem assets, where we get to know, okay, does it have a XDR agent installed? We see here no. But we see, okay, where does it come from? VMware, is it a personal computer? And get the information regarding there. So this is also what do our clients see. And also from the cloud instances, we get a bit information from what is happening over there. We see where it's deployed. And also, if we look into Prisma Cloud, we got here our cloud inventory. If we got this attached, we see all the information about VPC's cloud compute instances. We see from in the surface, in this user interface. So we got 1 point more, one point where we gather all the information of our different solutions. Any questions so far?
Yes, Leonard, there is a question from Tom. Tom is asking, you showed us about the profile properties that you can set, export and import. And he asks if there is something on the roadmap, like have a generic profile that is valid, but then you can basically push down some settings to maybe different tenants or different profiles, so that a lower tenant or another profile can inherit settings from a parent profile. Do you know, is something planned into that direction? basically inheritance of profile settings within the Cortex XDR console, or is it part of an MSSP maybe feature set?
I would need to look into this if this is part of MSSP, but not that I'm personally aware of currently.
Okay.
We would need to clarify this with a specialist for MSSP. And also regarding roadmap, I can't say anything as this is only allowed to be presented by systems engineering, systems managers for our Strata portfolio and by our solutions architects for Cortex XDR.
Sure. We will note down that question and come back to you, Tom, later with it.
Yeah, I will. In the background, I can then do some checks and follow up on the question and send then the answer to you.
Great, thanks.
Great. When we look into what else we got in this area, we got some new integrations, like I already mentioned, for IoT security, Google Workspace, and our Kafka collector. So when we look into this, we got here under settings again our custom collectors. So here it's Firebase and HTTP collection integrations, and here we can integrate with IoT security and Google Workspaces. We can go really granular. We say, okay, what do I want to really get from Google Workspace in this? And copy that in. For IoT security, this is a bit less. It's just a custom ID, the token, and the tenant ID. And with the Kafka collector, this is via our broker VM. So we see here Kafka collector is currently turned off. Our broker VM, for people who didn't use it until now or never got the possibility, we use it to, or in general, the use cases would be use it for air-gapped environments where we don't have any access or clients don't have any access to the internet. This would be the proxy solution or the proxy that it got enabled. But also we can use it as collector for a lot of different things like Kafka integration, NetFlow, syslog, Windows Event Collector. And one thing that we want to get to know if we, for example, don't have installed a lot of clients is also the Pathfinder. So this will give us more visibility into certain environments just because it's there, and also doing discovery on the network. Yes, so also data collection points that we integrated in the last 3 versions was Microsoft 365, Azure Event Hub, Google Cloud, and also HTTP2. So one thing, if we want to export logs in the raw data format, so usually you are able to do this via syslog, but if you want to go into raw data, this needs currently a license, but we're able to do it. So this should be not on the parsing rules. Yes, let me just check what is this exactly again. Yeah. So here is the syslog. We can just send data from Cortex XDR to our SIAM, for example. But if we need to want to go deeper, we need a license for this for the raw data to be able to export. One thing that we also got is now hot storage and cold storage. So with hot storage, this is now how currently Cortex is working. You also, when you buy, for example, 5 terabytes of storage for Cortex XDR Professional Pro version, and you want to attach your firewalls, you buy 5 terabytes. So usually this is thought to be working for 30 days. But also, if you want to use for compliance reasons and don't want to spend that much money, you can go into Cortex code storage. The biggest difference is the code storage is cheaper, but it's not designed to do so many queries. So this can be causing issues, but you can query it and it's for long-term compliance. Yeah. What we got also now are the parsing rules. So if you want to do certain mappings, we got a lot of stuff ingested now in our Cortex data lake, our internal log storage. We need to map those things of what does which field say to Cortex, so we can understand it and map what we want to do. So this is where we streamlined the editor just to go into enhancements of this. So this is under here, parsing rules. That's how it currently newly looks. And we also can simulate to see what kind of data gets then pulled. Any questions so far?
No, not yet.
Okay, great. So next step will be XQL and correlations. So with XQL, what's our query language for Cortex XDR, we get a lot of information out of it, and we can get really a lot out of it. So to make the life easier for admins that are used to Splunk and do all the queries in Splunk, we can got now a query converter from Splunk to XQL. This is like really just a button, and if there are like queries that can't be translated or something, or we run into issues, then we can say, okay, it will highlight it. But also, this is just a small button that you can press, and then it will translate most of the query for you. If you want to ingest third-party data, you can now also write correlations for this, so that you say, okay, if I see certain things in this third-party data, please generate me an alert. So this would be through the correlation rules that you can use also with the XQL language now. So if we look into here, we got our incidents, our query builder, and just go to XQL search, and here on the top I will see translate to XQL. So you will enter here the Splunk query, and then you get here the XQL query. This is literally it in this case. What's important is also that you see here in combination, for example, you can define which data you are searching for. So for standard things, you will just see Cortex XDR data. So the data set is Cortex XDR, and you saw earlier the other data set was the raw firewall data that will be queried, and here we can just say using query, and then get a graph about the login events on in XQL. So we got here a data set where we see, okay, which data gets filtered, we're searching for which event in this line, and also what are certain possibilities for us. Like this is like, okay, how many failed events do I see for this user? Login events, and we see, okay, 2,500. This doesn't look kosher, so let's investigate this. Yeah. So next stop would be identity analytics. With the identity analytics, we already got the possibility to go a bit deeper into Cortex XDR and help with user behavior analytics. So we need to activate analytics, and we need to have the cloud identity engine set up. The Cloud Identity Engine is now our central point, for example, where you can adjust or attach Edge ID, and it will be used in all our products as a central point. So we can say, hey, Cortex XDR connect to Cloud Identity Engine, but also we can say this with for our firewall. So this setup is actually done under configurations. Cloud Identity Engine. So this is one prerequisite to enable it.
Leonard, maybe you can mention that the Cloud Identity Engine itself is a free feature, right? And it's,
yes, exactly.
It's still like that. So yeah, it's a hosted service for authenticating users, including SAML configuration, and it's basically acts as a central point, and it's a free service. You can consume it for Palo Alto products, or even integrate other products into that one.
Exactly. So this is for free. You got usually access via your cloud portal, like through the hub, apps.paloaltonetworks.com, and you just got access to it for every customer, can integrate it, and yeah. So the second part we need to press is on XDR analytics, and then enable here identity analytics. The use cases that we cover with this are, for example, user login at unexpected time, unexpected host, to try to log in with a disabled user, or suspicious file access. So we, again, like Cortex XDR does, leverage this in machine learning and AI in the background to determine what's the usual user look, or what's his usual behavior, how can this be maybe malicious, and then we see, okay, this was an identity analytics alert in the log. Any questions so far?
No, you're doing good.
Great, because now already comes another part, the Mitre ATT&CK framework. With the Mitre ATT&CK framework, I just wanted to highlight where we're going to, what we can do in this field, or how to read the report properly, because a lot of vendors say, hey, we're the best, but understanding the report and how to process it is the most important thing, as reading the report. And that makes, for me, Mitre so credible, is they don't say, hey, there's like one winner. No, they show you all the results and tell you, okay, make your own mind up, and here's how we test. So when we look into the Mitre framework, we got a few detection categories. We see in this case of this Mitre round, they tested the wizard spider and the sandworm. So one is known from Conti and the other one from NotPetya. Everything that we see on the left-hand side is like misdetection. We got telemetry data, so when an attack happens, we see, okay, we see something is happening, but we have no idea why. Then we got malicious activity. We know that there's a bit more happening than just with telemetry data, but we don't know anything why or how. So basically, maybe something is getting decrypted. With the tactic, we get a lot more information. So everything that's like in this green circle is like the information we actually can use really, really well in investigation of incidents. So we see why, and if we know the technique, we see also how. So we got the complete chain of how things are happening in Cortex XDR, and how the attack is covered. So one thing that they also added are like configuration changes and delayed. So this means in the result, with how much configuration changes were made, This is really, really important because some solutions got good results, but you had to configure a lot. And if you got like a lot of environments, this is like suboptimal if you always need to tweak and change it. And some detections were delayed. So this is exactly when we got like analytics algorithms running through the data to detect certain things.
Leonard, do you have an idea why other products required some configuration changes, or in other words, why? I mean, it seems like other products are capable of detecting certain stuff, but it was not turned on out of the box. Has it something to do with performance or maybe resources then such an agent consumes to? That's why the default configuration is not safe safe from the beginning. Do you have some insights or information about that? Does Mitre share something like that?
I'm not aware that they shared something, but those are the steps you mentioned are exactly the reasons why people do not configure or turn stuff on. Performance issues, maybe it will work suboptimal in certain environments. And the most important thing is to make it as easy as possible for the customer. So the less configuration changes that are needed, the better it is.
Yeah, got it.
So if you look into the result of how we did in this here, we have did 100% of prevention in this case. We did 100% of detection. Our analytical coverage was 107 of 109 substeps. Same for the technical level detection and the visibility. The devil lies in the detail. So if we look into how this works exactly, so this is the results how we covered in the last few years. This is of this year, and we see one big difference compared to the other ones. We don't have any telemetry data. So this is also because we detect here we got analytical coverage of 109 of 107 of 109, and also here. And if we just scroll back a bit and see the telemetry data, yeah, this isn't that useful if we already got the technique. So we look deeper on how things work and didn't get any telemetry data, but that's so basically a step behind of how things work. So this is like a plus point for us in this case, as telemetry data doesn't give us as much information as the techniques itself. How does it look like if we look into the two scenarios of the malware? This is how it should look and how we performed, where we see, okay, 2 substeps where we had none, but also that on the technique side, we had a lot more. So where we say, okay, we didn't detect 2 steps, but all of the rest we had on the highest level we're on the highest level to able to detect. If you want to look deeper into the reports, we got our blog entry, we got the Mitre ATT&CK Evaluation of Palo Alto, and also how Wizard and Spider sandworm detection worked perfectly. This was it for me from the highlights. Thank you very much. Merci. And feel free if you got any questions to write to Rolf or to us, and we'll follow up on this.
Yeah, there is one open question. Is the Mitre ATT&CK free feature? Is it included in all of the licenses with Cortex XDR, or does it need an extra license?
So the Mitre, so the mapping to Mitre itself, if we look quickly into here, into incidents, this is already a feature that is for free implemented into Cortex XDR. That we see how the alerts are mapped to which point of the attack in the Mitre framework.
Okay, and the other features you showed us are there any features which need a license, or are they all included with the existing license as well?
There was most of the features. So usually we need Cortex XDR per terabyte. I'm just scrolling back to show you which ones were. So you would need a license for Cortex XDR per terabyte, and for the data management, for the event forwarding, this needs a separate license.
Okay, just this.
To export the raw data. The other things should be included in Cortex XDR per terabyte, and the forensics module is also optional. So the new one. Yeah.
So that means when the Cortex instance has been updated, you can use these features without any changes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Great. Thank you very much.
Let me quickly check the question and answer section. I don't see any open questions. So let's continue with the second part. You were very quick. Anyway, that's good. It gives me a little bit more time. So, quick question, Michael, do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Then let's continue. Yeah, for the next, let's say, 10 to 20 minutes, I would like to cover or make some refreshes around the best practice assessment tool and security life cycle review tool that is available from Palo Alto for free to you. But before I jump into, I want to start with a statement from Gardner. And I think this statement is not only true for the future, but also for the past. Basically, it says, when a customer was breached and the firewall was involved, it was not really a problem of the firewall itself. So the firewall itself did not have any flaws. It was in 99% of the cases a problem that the firewall was not correctly configured. So basically the human error problem. And that's exactly the point where the best practice assessment and the other tools that Palo Alto are offering help you to get to start and achieve a better cyber hygiene. So SLR, as the name says, stands for Security Lifecycle Review. This is for new customers, for potential prospects, where you can bump in next generation firewall product from Palo Alto, leave it there it monitors the environment, and then later on you can generate a report and take that report and go to your customer and show them what the firewall would be able to catch and see if he migrates to a new and actual firewall version. Then if we go further down the journey, we can say, okay, if the customer then wants to buy or has already buy the Palo Alto product, we help you with Expedition. Expedition is a migration tool. Again, it's free. You can import quite a lot of vendors are supported, and basically you import the configuration from vendor A, migrate it and map it to the Palo Alto Networks firewall, especially the interfaces, zones, and these kind of things. And that helps a lot because you don't need to do it manually, create a lot of new objects that is error prone, and use the Expedition tool to get a clean and nice configuration. If we go then and say, okay, now we have a basic or a start configuration, we can further lock down that configuration and apply default best practices through Iron Skillet templates. And these Iron Skillets are in a way part of the best practice assessment. So the BPA is, if you have your firewall configured and you think it is optimal configured for that environment, it gives the customer a possibility to show his adoption in terms of what capabilities the firewall has, and are they turned on, and are they configured correctly, right? So BPA is really a tool that further optimizes your security posture. And now let's jump into what BPA or the best practice assessment really offers to you. Again, it's a free tool. You can use it through the customer support portal. Just log in there, upload a firewall support file, a tech support file exactly, and then after the upload, analysis starts of the configuration, and you get a nice HTML report where you see, okay, where I'm on my journey, where I'm good, where I'm safe, means here the green bars, and maybe there are some categories which I could improve. Here the screenshot shows contingency planning and recovery. When we would further drill down, it basically says, okay, maybe it would be nice if that is a critical environment that you invest in a second appliance, set up HA, or maybe we see that you're not regularly make backups of your firewall. So you could basically start looking into those areas and start making some automation out of it. The idea behind that best practice assessment is really to get better security outcomes. I mean, those firewalls have now a lot of features, a lot of functionality, and what we see often in the field, that just a small portion of that features are used. And keep in mind that the customer paid for it. You know, he purchased DNS security, threat prevention, and maybe other features. And it is important that over time, Palo Alto expands those features with new capabilities. And it is important that you then review the configuration and best practice. The tool, the BPA tool, helps you here to really show you and give you an actual view how the firewall is configured. What would be possible? At the end, it should reduce the security exposure for your customer, and at the same time, it educates you and the customer with best practices, because the vendor Palo Alto comes with a set of best practices, fully documented, and you can just use them. So it's a cool tool. And really encourage you to look into that if you have not seen it. Here I documented the steps how to get to your BPA report. Again, everything is set up through the customer support portal. You need to have an account with the BPA user role assigned. Otherwise, you wouldn't see then the best practice assessment tool on the tools. You have to have a tech support file that you then upload via the customer support portal. And as a next step, you have to map your environment to, let's say, common architectural items. I make an example. Palo Alto needs to understand, okay, maybe your zone is mentioned as untrust or internet or unprotected. And of course, for the analysis, you have to map it to a construct that Palo Alto understands. Well, it is an external interface. Or another point is Palo Alto needs to understand, is this now a perimeter firewall? Or is it more a firewall for internal segmentation? And does that internal segmentation have special zones? And maybe you have OT or IoT devices in a zone. So you have to map those zones to common items on the best practice assessment. As well, you should define the industry in which the company or to which the company belongs. That helps you to benchmark with other companies that are also in a certain industry. At the end, if you have all that done, it takes more or less 5 to 10 minutes to really generate such a report. Maybe I can share one. Let's see, a nice report here. It starts. Do you see that? Mm-hmm. Okay. It's basically an executive summary. It was generated, by the way, on my firewall that I have at home. It shows you the category, split it down in each capabilities, where you're doing good, where you maybe should improve, and then benchmarks you also with other companies that are in a similar industry, right? And with that report, you can go to the customer and say, well, why not investing or focusing on certain points? You can even think about a model where you deliver it in an MSSP manner, saying, okay, for example, you have a different abonnement. Let's say as a start, you use a bronze abonnement and say, okay, we run a best practice assessment for you every 3 months. But then the outcome, we will of course share with you, but if you want to adopt then some changes, you have to pay for it. And maybe in a next level of an MSSP agreement, maybe it's a silver level or something like that, you say, okay, 2 changes are included as an outcome of the BPA report. We offer you 2 changes and so on. I mean, it's a cool tool you can use and show the current state of the security adoption or your security posture. And from there, you can start to improve. So I guess the question will arise, okay, now we have a nice report. So what's next? And let me jump back to the presentation mode. And Palo Alto really offers a broad documentation how to achieve best practice in certain categories, what you should do next, really step by step. You can follow that technical documentation. I just referenced it with the link below. But to be honest, wouldn't it be nice that Palo Alto does more here and basically say, we understand how you actually adopted your security capabilities. So Palo Alto presents a nice report, but to do that, they really analyzed your config. So wouldn't it not be nice to really say, no, I want to improve. So I'm looking for a one-touch button saying, basically saying, hey, okay, here in that area, I want to improve. Let's do it. Let's reconfigure the firewall automatically. Well, I'm dreaming, but I pushed back many times to Palo Alto, and I was glad to see that they came up with that BPA Plus. It's basically the best practice adoption in an easy manner. The bad thing beside that is it's on another portal. So again, you have to log in, do that to a new portal. It's the BPA Plus portal, upload again your tech support file, and then that file or configuration gets analyzed. And basically what you have seen before in nice green, yellow, and red colors where you can improve, here you get actual feedback and saying, for example, on the right side, you see I can improve on policies, but also on objects. And then you can select which areas you want to focus on and click through. It's it's wizard-based, let's say it like that. Click through those areas that you want to improve. At the end, you can generate and download all those improvements in CLI, in set commands, and you simply copy and paste these commands and you're set. Well, it sounds very easy. Of course, you need to understand what you're doing, like everywhere. Please take care, not simply copy paste it, review the configuration. Maybe you test the configuration in a test bed before, but it's an easy way to really adopt best practice. I can quickly show you that. So this is the portal. The URL is wizard.paloaltonetworks.com. I started already my best practice assessment, so I want to resume. First, as I mentioned, you can upload your already generated tech support file. Then, as a next step, Palo Alto explains you of course, you have to implement those changes through CLI. It would make sense that you're familiarized with the CLI configuration. Of course, make a backup before you adopt any changes. And then, as I mentioned, you can select in which categories you want to apply best practice. Just select some of them, and then it walks you through. It also shows you, for example, here it is an antivirus profile that I should change. It displays you what I have configured. For example, my wildfire action here then in the antivirus profile is on IMAP and POP3. I'm only alerting, right? And Palo Alto recommends that you really set it to reset both. Or another example is DNS sinkhole. I have DNS sinkhole enabled at home, but not with a packet capture. So Palo Alto thinks it would make sense if you have a DNS query that asks for, let's say, a command and control service. Let's redirect it to a sinkhole address, but to make sure that we capture a potential impact, we should also have a packet capture here. And that's very easy. So you click through and Palo Alto teaches you what they are thinking is best practice. At the end, I'm clicking through now. At the end, it gives you an overview of all the improvements that you have selected, including the commands. You can copy individual commands or sections out of that configuration file and simply apply it. Or again, you download all of the commands, work offline, take them into a test bed, and of course, before applying it, review them, test them. But it's an easy way to implement best practice. Jumping back to my presentation. Are there any questions so far regarding best practice assessment? No. I think it's clear. It's again an easy free tool. Just use it. I showed that example. Another area that Palo Alto is looking into is really for new prospects. And therefore, they have the Security Lifecycle Review, or SLR. The idea here, as mentioned earlier, is that you bump in a firewall into the customer's network, of course, in a non-intrusive way. You can use a tap port, or better, really put the firewall in line with virtual wire mode. The firewall then passively monitors the traffic. Recommended this for at least 7 days, 7 to 10 days, but of course you can run it for longer to get a better view, and then use that data. It's a data set that you have to export, upload again to that SLR portal, and you get out as a return. You get a nice report showing basically what are the cyber risks for that company. I mean, the customer has a current security gear, and when you put in a Palo Alto firewall, what would the Palo Alto firewall be able to see and be able to protect? So it looks into network vulnerabilities, threats, but also in applications. What applications are you using? And it helps facing organization, the problems that are out there day by day. And sometimes I'm getting frustrated. You know, you have such a nice firewall, but again, coming back to the Gartner statement, it's not that the firewall itself is not offering enough features. It's really that they are not turned on, or that they are misconfigured. So another nice tool, especially for new prospects, or maybe POCs that you can run at customer side. Currently, there is a promotion. If you find or run an SLR at the new customer, and the new customer is so happy and comes back with a purchase order after you presenting him the results, you can earn up to $1,000 for the sales representative or the partner SE. So look into that promotion. I've put in the reference in the slide deck. So let's switch gears a little bit. Partner compliance. I mean, for some of you, it's a boring topic. For Palo Alto and us, it's an important topic, because if you fail to be compliant by end of July, you could potentially, your partner level could potentially be lowered. So it's important that you take some time, use that tool. Palo Alto provides a tool which presents you where you are in your partner status. And there are 3 areas covered. It's basically your performance. Where are you with bookings and pipeline? Where are you in terms of capabilities, meaning certification and training, your sales and pre-sale stuff, and also in regards to your engagement. Some levels require that you purchase NFR kits, so not for resale kit, or you have a certain Cyberforce Defender status and or experience points. I encourage you to look into that tool, use it, and work with your internal team to make sure that you are compliant by end of July. I know there is always rumors around, are there any exceptions? To be honest, I don't know. Palo Alto makes the rules, and typically we have seen some innovator partners that were downgraded to registered partners. So please work with us, with your channel business manager, to understand what you need to do and by when you need to do it. As a reference, I've put also that slide here. You should be familiar with it. One point here that I wanted to mention on the innovator level, until now, the technical post-sales person was required. So on the innovator level, you have to have at least one engineer certified as a PCNSA, PCNSE, and so on. But now Palo Alto just says it's recommended. It's not a requirement anymore. But please keep in mind, this is just for the review of this period. It could be that the requirements are changing for the next fiscal year, and it could be that it is a requirement again. But for now, it's just recommended. And the good thing as well is the tool already reflects that change. So log into the tool, check your compliance status, and act if needed. Promotions, well, it's a tech session and not really a sales and pre-sales session. So I just want to bring one promotion to your attention, as it is a requirement to have certain NFR kit to be compliant with Palo Alto as a partner. I thought it was a good idea to bring that slide again. Important here, you can also now purchase the newest Gen 4 models. So the PA 3400 and 5400 series are now also available as NFR products. Keep that in mind, and maybe it makes sense to look into those offers. Finally, our training side, all our trainings are online. Use that link again that is highlighted here to book your training. If something is not listed on our training portal, please send us an email. We work together with a partner, and we are able to deliver other courses if you're interested, or even if you're interested in a customized course, please get in touch with us. We try to support you there. So with that, actually, I'm also finished with my presentation quite early, I guess. Question in the round. Are there any questions? No? Okay. Should we leave it open for another 30 seconds? If someone wants to ask a question, please use again the questions and answer panel. You're all muted. Okay. Nobody wants to ask a question. So then I would say thank you for attending. Thank you for your time, especially also a big thank you to Leonard for his great presentation on highlights on the last few major Cortex XDR releases. If you have questions, do not hesitate contacting Peter, Daniele, or myself. With that, thanks again for attending. I wish you now a very nice summer period. I mean, the temperatures here are nice right now. Stay safe, take care, and hope to see you again soon at another ball event. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rolf. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.